Hey, what's up? This is Brandon Simmons, and you are now watching my weekly Houston Texans segment called Bullheaded. Basically, I will be going over the news of the Houston Texans, from the previous week, as well as previewing the upcoming matchups that they have going on. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into probably the biggest story of the week so far, and that is Ryan Mallett taking over the starting quarterback position in place of Brian Hoyer. Now, if you saw the game last week, you can obviously tell and you can obviously understand why Mallett was put in. I mean, basically, Hoyer did not have a great game at all, and that's an understatement. I mean, he threw an interception his first pass out. I mean, yeah, mistakes happen, but obviously, throughout the game, that he did not recover from that mistake. And basically, your quarterback is your offense. It's very important who you put back there because the way he plays is going to be the way that, your entire offense plays. I mean, if you looked at the Broncos game Sunday, Peyton Manning wasn't, all that. And thus, the Denver Broncos offense wasn't all that as well. Peyton was just good enough to get the win. Broncos offense was good enough to get the win. Broncos were good enough to get the win. That being said, putting that in the Houston Texans terms, Brian Hoyer was not good at all. Those two turnovers basically gave the Chiefs 14 points, and so Brian Hoyer didn't play good enough to win. The Houston Texans offense didn't play good enough to win. Offense rubbed off on what the defense was trying to do. Needless to say, we took an L that day. So, with that being said, you can see when Mallett, he came in, he threw the touchdown, he led us to the field goal, he got us, out of the hole that we were in, but obviously it was not enough. So, through that short little time period that he had last Sunday, you can definitely tell that, that was something that he earned the spot just from that. But hopefully, what I want to see come out of this is that there's no more that this quarterback controversy is completely done. I mean, they've had a whole off season to get through this. They've had a whole preseason to make this decision. And when Bill O'Brien announced that Hoyer would be the starter, I mean, I'm probably not the only one that figured that, hey, this guy is the starter for the rest of the season, barring injury or anything, we're good to go. But, I mean, apparently that wasn't the case. And you can't fault Bill O'Brien for that. I mean, he tried to prepare this guy the best way he could. And, obviously Hoyer just didn't show up. And essentially it just lost him his job. But we also hope that, the same thing doesn't happen with Ryan Mallett. Because, I mean, he was benched, and it wasn't like Mallett was injured. O'Brien was like, I think Hoyer, gives us the best chance to win for this season. And that's a scary thought considering that Hoyer is now sitting on the bench. But like I said, hopefully that's the last of the quarterback changes. Mallett pulls out a win this Sunday. Speaking of this Sunday, man, Carolina is going to be a tough game, especially on the road and with a new quarterback at the helm. I mean, I think this is Mallett's third start, but this might be like his fourth or fifth game. So he really doesn't have like a lot of game experience in the NFL other than the preseason, but this the regular season, like everything's at a whole different speed. What I think they should do is probably start Mallett off early, attacking the defense, just deep threats, and maybe even a play-action pass as the first play. And I think, we get a play-action pass going, it connects for like a lot of yards or even for a touchdown maybe, then I think it brings the team's morale back up. It brings the offense back up. And, hey, like I said before, quarterback is energized, offense is energized, whole team is energized. That equals a W. So definitely I think let's give Mallett a shot at going deep. Let's be a little bit more aggressive with his talent and with his skill set on what he can do. As far as the trying to think. I want to say something about the running game, but I actually don't think there's anything just out standing or anything that they need to do. Perhaps they need to do a little bit more of screen passes and a little bit more flats, I guess, to neutralize the pass rush, because Carolina, they still got a pretty, without Greg Hardy, they still have, a pretty decent pass rush to deal with. And so I think we definitely need to incorporate that, because I really wasn't impressed with our running backs last Sunday. And so, I don't know, maybe they just need to rotate him a little bit more and not use Alfred Blue as a feature back. But that's definitely my thing. Definitely some more screen passes and just kind of mixing them up more in the run. Our defense, I think our secondary could really do a better job of coverage, and this game might help. Last week, Cam Newton only had 175 yards passing, like just 175 passing. Cam Newton, that's all he had. There was, I think, one of his receivers, the most that they had, the most yards by one of his receivers was 54 yards, like just 54, yards. So I'm sorry that I'm putting that in a hyperbole state, but I mean, that's just crazy to think about, considering the player that he is. You would think he's able to get more passing yards than that. You would think he would be able to get his receivers the ball a little bit more than that. But obviously, he's missing his number one weapon, who is Kelvin Benjamin, who's out for the season. So I'm guessing he's trying to figure his way out, who to go to and who to trust. So I think the Texans really do need to take advantage of that and just, get their coverage right, whether it's zone, whether it's man, or whatever. So just get that right, keep tight on those receivers, and minimize their production. Our front seven, our linebackers could step it up a little bit more, I believe. Jadeveon Clowney, he didn't do too bad last week. I mean, he wasn't the explosive player or the impact player that a lot of people thought he would be on Sunday, but I mean, you got to realize he's just coming off a grueling knee injury, and so I guess he's still, even though he is cleared to play, he's still probably working through the process and just getting his speed down. He's getting his speed back, his footing back, and everything. So I think in a couple more games we might be able to see flashes of the Jadeveon Clowney that we've all expected to see out of him ever since last season. So I think it's definitely coming soon down the line. So as far as linebackers go, they could just step it up a little bit more. That would be great. D-line, of course, J.J. Watt, he was good. Vince Wilfork, Crick, I liked what they were doing as far as, getting tackles and getting to the running back when they could. So I think our D-line should definitely be straight. And so what our defense just needs to do is just work on containing Cam Newton. So, like I said, he threw 175 yards last week. I mean, yeah, that's bad, but, that's just one game. He could probably come out here and throw 200, 300 in this game. But we need to make sure that does not happen at all. So I'll say basically just containing him and containing that run game, keeping that in check as well. And I think with a combination of that, we should definitely pull this win out on the road. Given that we have a new quarterback, I don't know how much damage Mallett will do, given that this is his first time starting in the season. So hopefully our defense might just have to pull this one out a little bit more and just do a little bit more damage. And that might have to be that way for a couple of games at least until Mallett gets his groove into the starting position, and hopefully we'll be right on track to our winning ways. So that's all I have for this week. My name is Brandon Simmons. You can check this video out on brandonsimmons.biz or facebook.com/brandonblog. That may or may not be the URL, but definitely I will post that up in the video's description. So other than that, see y'all next week. Go Texans.